In 5 years, I'm going to be this fat, stressed out old man, busting my ass all the time, building someone else's dream. This shit's got to change. I want to do what I want, when I want, with who I want.
You literally just gave perfect plan for anyone to go and build whatever they want. Most important promises that you will ever make are the ones you make to you. If you say you're going to wake up at 5 a.m., do it.
Yeah.
Stick to what you say you're going to do. And once you make the decision, you need a clear deadline.
People try and get confidence to take action, but you actually get confidence from taking action. Stop trying to figure out the whole piece of the puzzle. Just take one piece, make that move, and then start working on the next piece.
Welcome to the Creative Grit, the podcast for creative entrepreneurs who are hungry to have more impact, make more money, and become successful in every area of life. I'm your host, Nelson, and your journey to mastering life and business begins in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another episode of The Creative Grit. Today, we have the honor, and as usual, bringing extraordinary individuals to share their stories in life, business, entrepreneurship. Today's guest is the host of Fire Up Life with Ben Beakers. He's a serial entrepreneur that escaped the corporate world to build the life of his dreams. Please welcome the incredible, the legend, Ben Vickers. How are you, mate?
I'm good, thank you.
Stoked to have you here. I'm rocking the merch of the brand, Fire Up Life. Make it happen. The link will be down below as well if you want to support Ben and his new venture and everything that he's trying to do. He's actually one of our clients with Vibes Creative. So we're stoked to be producing your podcast. And as soon as, I found out a little bit more about you and everything you're doing, I'm like, I need to bring Ben on the party. He's crushing it. We resonate with so many things. Yeah. So of course you have to come on the Creative Grid. So Ben, explain to me, what does it mean to you, Fire Up?
I feel like, when the idea came into my head, it was more about a mindset and a lifestyle of actually doing what you want to do. I'd spent many years doing what I thought I wanted to do, and on reflection, there was too many compromises that I wasn't happy with in order to live that life that I was living. And as you get older, those compromises start to concern you a bit, I guess. For me, I was always a hard worker. No matter what I did, I always worked really hard at it. And that was purely based on the fear of failure, wanting to impress the people I was working for and just basically bring my best to the table. So I always did that, and it did me very well over the years. And it got to a point as I kind of climbed that corporate ladder, and as I got older, I was like, hang on, time's kind of running out here for me to do my own thing, which I had this huge burning desire to do that. It's been there my whole life, and I've always kind of had little sideline hustles and everything, but actually going all in on something, that I've said this in some of my other stuff, but the pain of staying the same was now going to be greater than the pain of taking the leap and making the change. So I was like, right, what do I need to do? And that was kind of like, mate, you've just got to get fired up and actually use that drive and motivation to kick my own ass into gear to start making these things happen, which is hence the tagline, like, get fired up, make it happen. So what it means to me is I was like, right, let's go. And it's not a complicated process. It's very systematic. It's very easy to implement. It all just comes back into that personal drive and motivation to actually do. And that's what I think most people struggle with, and that's what I struggled with for a long time, right? I know I should. I know I can. I know I want to. Next week, next year, maybe later. I'm not ready. I'm not prepared enough. So the business idea was born, I guess, out of that transition for me, the huge benefits that came off the back of it, family, relationships, mindset, lifestyle, well-being, everything was like massively benefiting from it. And then a lot of people that I was talking to, And it seems to be more and more now, lots of complaining. Don't have enough money, hate my job, hate my boss. I wish I had time to look after my health and fitness. This sucks. This is bad. And I was like, well, it's the same thing. They're just lacking that. You just need to put the systems and tools in place and change this headspace you're in to get fired up. You just need to just take that first step. So that's how Fired Up was born, and what it means to me is literally it's a lifestyle, and it's a business where I want to help people actually do the same thing and go through that transition, because settling for mediocrity and just saying, well, look, this is how it is, I just don't accept that. And I don't think that they should accept it either, because they will only look back on that situation later in life and go, shit, I wish I had, driven towards my dreams. I wish I'd spent more time here. I wish I'd looked after my health, because now it's causing me some issues. And they know all this stuff. They know that right now. They know what they need to do, and Fired Up is there to help them along the steps and journey to actually do it.
I love everything that you and Fire Up stands up for. That's why we're so stoked to be a part of your journey and get to be that vehicle for you to get that message in front of more people, because I believe everything you have just said. And for most people now, it almost pains me to see people that are not willing to take the risk and also don't have any urgency. I think that's one of the key things that I've noticed that a lot of people are missing in order to make things happen, is they don't have enough urgency. Yes, you have to be patient. You have to, this is one thing that I always nail down, with our team, with everything I do. I'm urgently patient. I'm willing to play the long game. I'm willing to see the big picture. Most people will give up along the way, and I'll be the guy that keeps coming back and back and back and keep showing up, even when it sucks, even when the odds are against you, even when shit hits the fan, when no one believes in you. I'm that guy that keeps coming back, right? But you also, as well as having that patience and seeing the big picture, you also need urgency on your day-to-day. On the small picture, right? You need to move fast. You need to move like something is coming to get you, because that really is time. That's how I see it now. Like I have to be the best I can be every day. I have to try, and I have to try hard. I have to give up my best. I have to try to pour my 100% on everything I do, because maybe I won't be here tomorrow. That's a harsh reality, and I truly take that the way it's meant to be, which is you could be gone, right? So everything you say resonates so much with me. What do you think is the missing piece for most people? Why are most people not taking the action? Do you think it's because they're lazy? Do you think it's because they just don't have the belief?
I think it's probably on the belief side, right? I think there's the fear and the uncertainty and the doubt, and everyone has it. You go and talk to anyone who's got a successful business or even a huge empire. Hey, let's go back to when you started. Were you scared? Yeah, of course I was. Were you uncertain of what might happen? Of course. Was there doubt? Huge doubt, mostly self-doubt. There's no one who goes, wasn't scared, no uncertainty, this was going to be a killer, It's so I think people overthink that part of it, thinking that, they see all this success, but they don't see what's behind the curtain in terms of the hard work and the consistency and the motivation, like you said, to keep going when it sucks, because it is going to suck. But just go and look at what you're doing now. I guarantee you can look back on your job and you're like, man, my job sucked yesterday. Oh, cool, but you turned up tomorrow, didn't you? You're going to turn up next week, didn't you? There's good days and there's bad days. It's the same thing about applying it into it. So I think belief, yes, but belief, I think more to your point, is just like, stop trying to achieve the end game, because it's not there. It's not something that you should aim for. I talk about, let's not aim to reach the top of the mountain. Let's just keep climbing the mountain. You never reach the top. You need to keep going, and it's actually the satisfaction and the the experience that you get through going through the process. So I guess that's why, with Fired Up, we're trying to get that message out, which is like, stop trying to figure it out. You're not going to. And you can look on YouTube and read stories about people who have done it. They're in exactly the same boat. We're just trying to get you to, like you say, urgency. Take that step. And once you've taken that step, cool, now take another one and another one and another one. Just that 1%, just do a little bit more, and you will actually start to see it come through. There was that Stephen Bartlett. I went to his World Tour conference a couple of weeks ago, and he said something which I love, and I'm using that, like people try and get confidence to take action, but you actually get confidence from taking action. And it's so true. And I think that's what we need to try and push into people who are listening to this, or to people who want to make a change, or build something, or follow a dream, or chase what actually means something to them. Stop trying to figure out the whole piece of the puzzle. Just take one piece, make that move, and then start working on the next piece.
I absolutely agree with that. And it doesn't matter how much preparation you do for any business venture, for any new project, or anything that looks risky. In the end, it all comes down to taking the action and learning from the feedback, so that you can get better and take the next step on the right direction. Because sometimes you just get, going into a different place to where you're trying to go, right? But it just never gets to the point where you will have all the information you need in order to make a decision. Correct. I think it's just Jeff Bezos who has, I'm butchering this saying, but it's something along the lines of, get 70% of the information and take action. That's all. You will never have 100% of the information. So you can only take action and then improve as you go. What was that moment for you where you were in the corporate world? And I've listened to your episodes and your stories and everything. You should go and check his podcast, because you will learn a ton, but also he's giving a lot of tools for you to improve your life and to actually make things better for you and change your whole reality in that sense. But what was that moment in the corporate world where you were like, that's it, I need to go do my own thing?
I think, well, there was a couple of things, right? And it's usually a series of significant things that can happen in your life that make you kind of think about what you're doing. So just hearing you talk about your dad before, like, my dad had a heart attack, and I was overseas at the time and got the phone call, you got to fly home. He's in an induced coma at the moment, and I was in New York, and I had to make my way all the way back to New Zealand. And I got there, and he was in an induced coma for 3 months, and they're telling the story that, he may come out of this with like severe brain damage. We don't know what that's going to be like at the moment. We got through that, and he's doing well at the moment. He's elderly now, but he has recovered from that and learned some lessons from lifestyle that he changed off the back of it. Same thing with my daughter, being prematurely born. I think when these significant things happen in your life, you start to go, life's fragile, life's short. And, I always tried to look at the end and then look back and go, are you going to be satisfied with your relationships, with what you've done with your time, with how you've spent your money, with the things that mean something to you? Are you going to be happy with that? This is no offense to the corporate world. I think anybody who's working in that environment now will relate to this. It's hard. And it's hard because the higher up the level that you go, the higher, I guess, the expectation. But it's also, you're always on. It's not like a job, a trades job or something like that. You go to work, you pick up the tools, and then at the end of the day, you put the tools down and you go home and do your thing. I was going home and working late at night. I'm starting super early in the morning. I'm flying away on trips. I'm going here. I'm doing this. I'm missing out on important things with my kids. I'm missing out on special events. And even when I was present, I wasn't present. I'm like, oh yeah, homework, looking at the emails on the other side of the phone, because trying to keep those wheels moving with the expectation of the workload, the responsibility, is full on. And even once you do switch off and go to bed, you're thinking the next day. I remember having I was always dreaming about the board meeting and the numbers, and it's just constantly there. So I think one thing was I don't want to spend my life like this. That's number one. I had also seen a chart that was put up on some social that had kind of time spent with kids, time spent with family, time spent with partner and loved one, and then time spent alone. So, my kids are 9 and 5 at the moment, and the time that I will spend with my 9-year-old from here on is now starting to trend down, because school and then curricular activities, then he'll be at his friend's place on the weekend, and then once he becomes a teenager, he's going to be going away, and then when he's in his 20s, he's going to be moved out. So the key time that I'm going to actually have with them is in this period of their life. I've spoken to enough old people who have said to me, make the most of this time. It goes so fast, and all of a sudden they start to leave the house and they start to go and live their own life and their own thing. And all of a sudden you're seeing them on Father's Day if you're lucky, and on Christmas Day. And it's just a downward trend. So that scared the shit out of me. So it was really about, what am I doing with my time? And I'm actually busting my ass all the time, building someone else's dream. I'm not spending my time how I would want to for the key people in my life and the relationships and things that are important to me. My mental health and physical health was not where I wanted it to be. Highly stressed, high strung, no time for working out, no time for exercise and self development and wellness. And I was like, this shit's got to change, because in 5 years, I'm going to be this fat, stressed out old man who is just missed out on everything that's happened with his kids. So, I talk about the freedom formula and the stuff that I'm doing. And ultimately, I believe that time is the most valuable currency. I think it was the week before I left the corporate job, and I was talking to my wife about it. She said, so what's the plan? I said, I don't know what the fucking plan is. But I'll tell you what I want to do. I want to do what I want, when I want, with who I want. So I don't know what that is, but I will figure it out. And with time being the most valuable currency, income is a big part of that, because income gives you oxygen. Income gives you the ability to use your time how I want. So it was always going to have an aspect of my own business and my own investments, my own income streams. And then I just kind of started to design my day and time around the blocks that worked for me. I can work when the kids are at school. I'm not going to work before they go to school or when they get home. I can exercise before they get up. So I just putting that structure in place to make it work for me.
And that's how it happens for most of us. I've noticed it's all about the freedom, right? Being able to do whatever you want with whoever you want, whichever time you decide to do it. So because that has been exactly my main driver, the freedom to do also the big things that I'm envisioning to do. I have this massive vision of things that I want to do and help, and just seeing how possible things are. Because once you see that glitch in the matrix, you can't unsee it.
Yeah, that's right.
Once you understand, you can truly create anything you want in life. If you truly want it, and you pay the price for it, and the price for different visions and dreams is different, you can get it. And also, if you give yourself, that's why you need that patient aspect, right? Because sometimes, and there's another thing that I've realized when it comes to creating your ultimate reality, or getting whatever you are asking the universe, life, God, whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
And is that there's always a lag period. So you might want it in a year, but there's always a lag that you need to be okay with. And it could be, sometimes is an extra month, sometimes it's 6 months, sometimes it's another year, and sometimes it's 10 plus years. Even this is a silly thing, but because it also gets to a point too when you get when you're doing well, where material stuff doesn't mean shit anymore, right? I remember being so excited about cameras, all these things. And I was like, wow, I got all this stuff. In today's day, I'm like, fuck, I need to buy another camera. That sucks. I don't want to do that. Same with computers, all this stuff that before used to be such an adrenaline rush, like the new thing, right? And recently, like whatever, few months ago, we got a new car. We didn't need a new car. We just wanted a bit more flexibility in terms of where to go, whatever. I don't care about a car, right? So I end up buying this product, and it's like, and then as soon as I got it, I'm like, holy shit! I remember being 18 and just seeing that car back home as the dream car. I was like, if I could only have a Prado one day, life will be incredible. This is it. This is the dream car.
Yeah.
Because then you will see like the rich kids having this stuff, and it was like, it felt like impossible. Like then, like, oh, no, I could never get that. And suddenly you have it. It's been 20 years since then. You know, but it's like, okay, yeah, things you one way or another, you can get what you want. Sometimes it just takes a little bit longer, right? But yeah, everything you're saying is just bringing all these memories of going through the journey. So now I'm curious. You take the risk and you go into doing your own thing. Now your wife, I guess Mandy, right? She will be like, oh, I'm not sure what's happening here. What are we doing? She will be scared as well, right? What did you start doing and how did that go? Was it a walk in the park? Like, did you came with all the skills that you learned in the corporate world and everything was easy then? Like, what happened after that?
It was easier, like, because it's not the first business I've started. And I think every time you do something for the first time, it's scary, right? The first car you buy, it's like, oh, it's this huge thing and it's a big investment and it changes your whole world because now you're free and you're mobile and you're flexible. And obviously, whenever you're doing something for the first time, there's that learning curve. And then when you come to do it again, you can move faster because you know what to do. So when I remember the day very clearly, and I was talking to a friend of mine, and it was February the 6th this year. And I got off the back of that phone call and I was like, of course, like I want to help people make a transition in their life. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to get the freedom. And to get the freedom, you need to start a business. Because now it's on your terms. The reward will be based on your impact, input, and energy. So let's help people start their businesses. And obviously, to start a business, there's the mindset shift. You need a whole bunch of other bits and pieces to actually move that along. You need to change your identity to a certain degree. So February 6th, I had the idea. February 8th, the whole brand kit and logo was done. February 9th, the website's underway and will be done in 1 week. Like I moved super fast because I was just getting trigger happy with the mouse. You know, buy that, click this, do that, book them. I hired someone extremely fast and said, here's the plan, now go and do that. So it's more, I'd already gone through the lessons previously of like, and I say this in my part, what's the worst that can happen? I can launch this thing for minimal entry cost, and the worst thing that can happen is I don't get a client. I don't sell a thing. I didn't even know what I was going to sell. So, no, I just moved very fast and I just did it very quickly. Everything I've learned, and you know, whether it's the corporate world or the job or whatever, you know, I've been filling those first 2 buckets of the 5 buckets, which is skills and knowledge. I've been filling that for my whole career. So I've been working in sales roles. I've been working in client relationship roles. I've been working in marketing roles. I think my best life education in terms of a complete kind of skill set was going into that startup with that guy in my previous role, 2015. Grassroots startup, setting up an accounting and finance business, which was to help accounting firms, you know, scale their firms by offshore solutions. And that's just like, we had nothing, we had no one, we had a plan on the wall, and it was like you're just wearing every hat. There's a marketing person, finance manager, operations manager, admin support, you're dealing with customers. So that definitely helped me in terms of having the skill set and knowledge of being able to take something from zero to something.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things that, I tell my team, we're like a small startup, so when you're here, you will not only learn more about your own role and acquire more skills within that, you're going to learn a little bit about everything, because you're hearing me doing sales calls, marketing, client communication, client relationships, improving systems, operations. And, like it's just one of those things that if you can find an environment or someone that is doing the thing that you want to do and just attach to their mission and be valuable and being okay with, there will be a season for you, but use this one as a way to fast track your way to acquire the skills and the knowledge and learning through the trials and errors of someone else's business, while you're also helping them, of course, in exchange for that. You will be able to build your own thing way faster later down the track.
Yeah. And I believe in there is no problem that can't be solved. And it's like, well, I know that I need to, create an agreement and an invoice for my new business, but I don't know what to do. I'd be like, I could have that figured out in 10 minutes, because I will just go to YouTube. How do I create an invoice? Do this, step 1, step 2. Okay, what's the platform? Try Canva, go to Canva, play around, do it. And if you don't want to do that, get someone else to do it through using one of the freelance network applications, and someone will build you the agreement and the invoice for $10. Like, we are so lucky now, because just go back 20, 30 years, whatever, and you're going to have to get in the car, go to the library, read a book on business, and then try and go back and find a graphic designer. It's just so much easier now to do anything. The education is free. The how-to video on anything you could possibly think of is there. So you just have to go and find it and search it, and then also, be prepared for that bit of a learning curve. There's stuff that we just don't know. Ian, who was on the podcast last week, he's like, we got into a legal situation. He's like, I didn't know anything about the law that was going to be in place with this. Now he knows. Like, you just have to go, right, there's going to be stuff I'm going to need to learn. And that's why I think that whole learning and development piece needs to be proactive. Like, what do I want to get better at? What skills and knowledge do I want to build to add value for what I'm doing? And then when you come into those problems, as opposed to going, it's too hard, I don't know what to do, I'm really struggling with this, know that the solution is there. You just have to find it.
Yeah. What are the 3 most valuable skills you learn in your other jobs, the corporate world, that transfer and created the highest leverage for you with your own businesses?
Great question. If I just think about this, if I was starting another business tomorrow, systems and process. And the reason for that is consistency. And I think that everything just needs to be the system and process, right? And I think, if anyone knows the McDonald's story or seen the McDonald's movie, it's very much, that was the turning point for them, when the sauce gun was turned from being a free pour to being 4 square dots, because that meant that the same amount of sauce was on every burger, as opposed to leaving it up to the decision of the person in the kitchen. Because if you leave it up to the person, it could be a lot of sauce or not enough sauce. It could be a lot of onions or not enough onions. And that's the reason that McDonald's worked so well, is because the consistency of the system and process means that people buying the product know what they're going to get. And if they like the product, I'm going to buy it again and again and again and again, because it's the same quality and consistency. So, and once you bring in that system and process, just like the McDonald's story, then you can do things much quicker and better, and you can actually scale that quite quickly. I used to use this analogy back in the old business, and I was like, because part of my role was opening up new buildings, and I'm talking big buildings, 3,000 square meters. They would hold, 500-700 staff on each shift. That's a lot of computers, a lot of desks, a lot of food to be served, a lot of meeting rooms and everything. And I used to say to my team who would work on these projects with me, it's the Starbucks methodology that we want here. And they're like, well, what do you mean? And I said, because we have buildings all around the place. I said, if I get on a plane today and go to New York, I know that if I go into Starbucks, there'll be glass counter at the front, sandwiches on the left, juice on the right. I know they're going to welcome me like this. My name will be on the cup and I know what I'm getting. So I'm looking for the same consistency when people go to our buildings, whether it's in Brisbane, whether it's in Texas, whether it's in Manila. I want them to walk in and go, I know where we are, because it's the same look, feel, culture, condition. So to go back to your question, I'd say systems and processes are key. The brand and marketing and message is also very important, because it's your story. And whatever you're doing is probably not unique. Someone else does it. So the story and why you do what you do and how you do it is going to find you the market to resonate with. And that's why they choose you over the next person. That leads me to the third part, which I think is probably the most important, which is completely wow your clients above and beyond. I feel that basic customer service these days is average at best. And when someone turns up and does an exceptional job and does it well and does something in terms of appreciation and something a little bit extra, then that becomes super memorable, and it becomes something that you actually want to latch onto and be part of.
Curious, asking about that. Have we wowed you so far?
Yes. Yeah. And do you want me to give you a few examples?
Yeah, go for it.
So I think, and it's the little things, right? Because as a client of anyone with anything, you're exchanging money for a service or a product, and that money is hard to earn, so you want to put it to good use. And I guess there's a basic level of expectation of what you're buying does what you say it's going to do. Am I getting value for what I'm putting my money into? Yes or no? But then when I think about the little things, like the first day I rocked in here, and I remember messaging Cal on Slack and saying, hey, I've just come across this song and it's so awesome. It's like it was written for my business. Can we put this on our videos and stuff? She's like, no, you can't, because like there's the copyright aspect and stuff. And I was like, okay, cool, that's fine. Maybe I can use it on some shorts and reels. And she's like, you can probably do that. And when I walked in here on the first day, that song's blaring out the front of the studio. And I was just like, man, that's awesome. Like, I went home. Guess what happened today? I didn't say, we spoke about this. I said, guess what happened today? I walked in there, they're blaring the song. So it's those things, because what it makes you feel, they get me. They know what I might be into or what I like, and they're actually, pulling on the emotional connection for it. And that's what it's about. Like, building good relationships with good clients will then, help the business grow out as well. I'm sure you are as well, but I'm really keen on the idea of not working with people who don't fit my mold, my culture, my plan. So if someone called me tomorrow and said, hey, Ben, we've got a business, we'd love to work with you. We'll pay you $100,000 for a day seminar, and this is what we do and this is what we want. If I didn't connect with that, I'm good, man, thanks. Let me point you in the direction of some other people that might be able to help you. Because I want to do good, fulfilling work with good, fulfilling people where we both get the benefit of that relationship and the experience.
I totally agree with that. And like you said, it's the little things, we do it for ourselves, but I also see this in other businesses as well, as a customer or as a client.
Yeah.
It's always the tiny things that blow you away. Like, wow, she knew my name and I haven't met her, or, they were very energetic, or that guy had a firm handshake when it came.
Yeah.
I mean, you will not believe how much I coach my team beyond, the obvious, right? Like, here's how we make elite podcasts, this, that. It's more like, because also my team, a lot of them are quite young, right? That's the kind of environment that I've been wanting to grow. I didn't want someone that is set up in his own way. So whatever it is, I'm building this entire thing with people that I can see the potential in them. Every single person that is a part of this mission right now, I look at them in the eyes and I could see this guy or this girl has a lot of potential. I'm keen to come and give them the fire that they need, right? So, and it's, everything is a little things, you know. I've sometimes might pull them aside and say like, hey, you know, when you went and say hi to this guy, I think your body language wasn't too good. Be straight, give a firm handshake, say your name. If you haven't made it, call them by their name.
Yeah.
You know, the tiny things that if you can create an environment where everyone's paying attention to those things, the experience already becomes way better for a client, and they want to keep coming back and they want to be a part of it. And they will understand as well when you make a mistake or something don't goes to plan, because you have been building, you know, this credibility, like you are who you say you are, and you deliver an exceptional experience and results. And then it's like, yeah, it's fine. You know, don't worry. Like the guys are always sharp.
Yeah.
You know, these things happen.
Yeah.
I'm curious, based on that, what's been a really massive mistake that you did on your business, whether it was a client or something that, you know, was a time where you're like, holy shit, I don't know if I will get out of this one?
Oh, there's been many. I can probably link this back to a story of why I made the decision I made at the time. But this is with the other business, Custom Buckles Australia. I had a big custom order for, I believe it was an engineering firm, and they had a conference that they were running with their whole team over in Sydney. So like 1,000 team members were coming from mostly around Australia, but some from overseas as well, were coming to Sydney for the company conference for 2 days. And at the end of the conference, they wanted to present them with this custom belt buckle. So the timeline was tight at the start. We need about 6 weeks from production artwork approval through to the product being in the hand. This was just kind of around that COVID time as well. And, you know, the supply chain was getting a bit messy and unreliable. And we were 4 weeks in, and we ran into a problem where the last process of the buckles is this antique liquid, and it's a dark liquid that goes into the metal to go into all the cracks and creases and behind any design features to actually make that image pop out. And this antique liquid had all of a sudden come into short supply, and our shipment of it hadn't turned up, and the turnaround time on that was going to be 4 weeks. And I was like, because if I can't finish this buckle and it's going to take 4 weeks to do it, I'm going to miss this guy's conference in this timeline. So I'm very nervous at this point for a couple of reasons. Number one, the order's going to fall through and I'm going to have to refund the money, and I've already invested in the whole thing. I'm just waiting for this last piece of the puzzle. Or, you know, we're going to have to find another way to solve this problem after the fact, which might mean that if he is okay with this, we're going to have to send each individual one out to 1,000 addresses. I was like,
that will be a logistic nightmare, huh?
Either way, we were going to lose a ton of money, and we were going to have a very upset client. And
how big was this order?
1,000 units. So we're talking probably $40,000. Yeah. And it was just a timing thing. I was thinking like, you know, how am I going to work the story with this guy? What are the options I could do? What are the solutions? Can we make it work without the antiquing? Can I find someone else who can do this? Can I find this antiquing liquid somewhere else? And I was like hustling for a couple of days trying to find that solution, and it just wasn't there. And I came across, you know, this YouTube video, which I loved, which is actually about a guy who was a severe drug addict, and he went into the rehab program. And in the rehab program, they have kind of 3 foundational values as they go through the 12 steps. And those foundational values are be authentic, surrender the outcome, and do uncomfortable work. And I loved that. And this guy who came out of rehab and everything else now runs a multi-million-dollar company. And he spoke about stories of using those 3 steps in everyday life. And I use it in everyday life now. It's one of those big things that I always think about and look at when I've got a decision to make. So I was like, it is what it is. You're going to have to call the guy and tell him the situation that you're in. And this is where people start overthinking, right? I'm prepared for him to yell at me down the phone. I'm prepared for him to go, well, you're going to have to do this and you're going to have to do that and everything else. And that's the surrender the outcome, right? Do the uncomfortable work. The phone call is going to be uncomfortable. The outcome is going to be what it is. You're either going to have to refund the money, you're going to have to sort out logistics, whatever. I called him up and I said, mate, I've got some really bad news to share with you. I told him exactly what it was. I said, there's an antique liquid that goes over the buckles as the last part of the process to actually define all of the detail and finish it off. And we have not received our shipment. There's a supply chain issue coming from overseas and we're not going to see that for 4 weeks. So I'm going to miss your timeline. What would you like me to do about the situation? So I didn't jump in with the solution. What would you like me to do about the situation so I can make this better for you? And he goes, oh, mate, look, that's fine. Once you get the antique liquid, just get it done, send it to our head office, and we'll just distribute it to the team after there. But if you can send me a picture of the artwork, I'll put that up on the big screen at the conference and show everybody what they're getting in a couple of weeks. And I was like, awesome, thanks. And I was like, do you know what I mean? I was like stressing out about all of this stuff. And the outcome on that occasion was positive. But even if it wasn't, even if he said, man, just cancel the order, okay. I think it's about being honest and transparent and just going, it is, here we are. What would you like to do that would help fix this for you? And being flexible with that stuff.
I think one thing that I've learned as well for myself is that honesty will open so many doors. If you get to a conclusion, I'm the kind of person as well, and this is what I tell my team. When there is a mistake, we're going to do everything, absolute everything in our power to get it fixed. And we have now a mistakes tracker as well. We have different levels of mistake.
Yeah.
Like level 1 is a small mistake that only you and maybe the people in your specific department notice or whatever it is, get it fixed and write down what's going to be the solution. Level 2 is, people across the company notice the mistake. It could be, potentially getting already to the client or whatever it is, right? So write down what it is, and we're keeping people accountable.
Yeah.
You have to write your own mistake because we can't babying everyone on being like, did you put your mistake, right? We have to keep everyone accountable to it so that everyone else can learn. It's not to put someone, in the middle, be like, oh, you make these mistakes or whatever. It's more like, hey guys, I make this mistake. Let's make sure no one else makes it. Because I'm big on mistakes are going to happen and let's make mistakes. Because that means we're trying new things, we're evolving, and we're trying, right? We're failing forward. But as long as you always keep, when you fail, if you're trying to go there, if you keep failing forward, you will get there, right? Perfect. The problem is failing and just staying there and not doing anything about it, not coming up with what's going to be the prevention for that to not happen again. And then we have level 3, a mistake that could cost us a client because it was that big or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So, and most times what I've found, going back to your own story, is that 99% of the time, is never as bad as you think as it's going to be. You're making it this big, right? And you're trying to, if you have empathy as well, you put on the shoes of the client or the customer or whoever you're serving, you'll be like, oh, fuck it. They probably are thinking this, and that. You don't know.
Yeah.
This is the thing. You don't really know.
Yeah.
So honesty will open doors for things like this to happen. It's like, oh, yeah, look, no big deal.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's fine, and sometimes it will just suck.
Yeah.
You made a mistake and you're going to have to learn from it, and it might cost you money, it might cost you a client, it might cost you, time, it might cost you double work.
Yeah.
It might cost you stress. It's just the nature of the game. And making mistakes, I now see it almost as a good thing. It's like a skill to be able to just perceive a mistake as like, yes, you get bothered or whatever, fuck, we made that mistake. now this is good. This is an opportunity for growth.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity to not make that mistake at higher stakes as well.
Yeah, like what's in your control and what's outside of us. This mistake, that story I said, out of my control. But if the mistake is inside of your control, own it. You did it. It's your issue. Come up with the solutions for it and be honest with everybody involved. Yep, that's on me. Here's the solution. Communicate it. Make it through. And then let's go. Once we've got through this, let's have another look at that. How did that happen? So we can plug that hole for next time. Which that systems and process. Why did that happen? Okay, well, there's only one checkpoint. I think we need 2 checkpoints. So I want to make sure it's, like the medical industry. Someone comes in, they do this, the next person comes in and does it as well. Yep, tick, tick, tick. They got that fail-safe checkpoint to make sure that if one person makes a mistake, another person is picking it up before it becomes consequential.
You went from doing, low-end jobs when you were very young. I think it was it like a fish and chips or something?
That was my first job, my first full-time job out of school at 15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you went all the way to working in corporate world, now an entrepreneur and a business owner. Can you explain what you've been able to build now and what businesses do you have and that have been successful, which ones are still running, and what has been like the achievements of the businesses as well?
So I moved to Australia from New Zealand in 2004. I was straight into a repping role with a company that I was working with in New Zealand. The thing with my jobs and stuff, it was always easy for me to get a job because I worked hard, and it was easy for me just to call my contacts or move around because people were like, oh, we'll hire him. If he's moving, we'll take him. And then I'd always get job offers from the clients that I was working for as well, just because of the service and enthusiasm and effort I put into them. Was always had a lot of job offers, so that was good for me working through the corporate world as well. Early after getting to Australia, I was like, I need a sideline hustle here, and I set up Ben's Lawn Care. And when on the weekends and evenings, I was mowing lawns and doing that just for some sideline cash and hustle. Then in 2008 is when I started the buckle business. I won't go into the full story because it's in one of the podcasts, but I basically bought retail buckles, novelty buckles, themed ones, whatever the kind of hot thing was at the moment. And I set that up, and that was just a sideline business at the time. Throughout early stages of that, I had a client call me and they said, can you make custom buckle with our logo and our colors and stuff? And of course I said yes, and I found a solution for that. And that's when the light bulb went off. Like, you should be making custom stuff because that's what people actually want. And you will be able to make it per order and find the solution there. So the Custom Buckles Australia was kind of built and established from there, and then it was all about just kind of marketing, building the website, building the systems and process, getting the word out there, and then every order that we got on the back of the buckle embossed into the metal, it says custombuckles.com.au. And I did that because whenever I had a buckle and I would show someone, they always go, oh, that's nice, and they turn it over. It's just a natural instinct. And I was like, okay, so that means that everybody who looks at one of these buckles is going to turn it over, and there's the brand. And that seemed to work very well. So as we started bringing on bigger clients and bigger jobs, they would then move into other companies and just rinse and repeat. They don't even call anyone else or go anywhere else when they know the product, the service, the delivery, the quality. That's where you go. It's that's why you get repeat business from clients, is because of that peace of mind. So that business still runs today, and Fired Up is the new business, which only started in February. And the other business I've got is called Crew Capital, and that's basically an investment management fund where we manage the investments for a very small collective group of people. Back to the complainers who were like, I would love to invest. I don't know how. I don't know what to do. I don't have time for this. And I was like, okay, well, there's an opportunity there as well, because it's actually something that I enjoy. I'm good at, and I want to be able to actually get them started on that journey to see the returns and how it works, and then set them off on their own.
With those two businesses, at what stage are you in with them? Like, do they fully operate without you? How much time commitment do you have with them? What's the current stage or involvement of you with your businesses?
Yeah, so with the custom buckles business, I am still involved on the client side with the big key clients. They ask for me, and I want to be there to help them. So I'm involved in that aspect, but there's other people who are doing design. There's other people who are doing, packing and sorting and distribution. So I'm my involvement there would be with key clients, and then also on the financials. Of course, I've got like an accountant and everything else like that, and it's very self-managed. But in terms of revenue goals, targets, cash flow, I do keep my eyes across that. For the crew capital, my involvement, it's almost like you invest and then you set and forget. So all I'm doing for my clients on that aspect is providing a monthly update and a report to how the market is performing and how their individual fund is performing month to month, year to year over the series of their investment. And then with Fired Up, I'm very hands-on, but I do have, I knew from these other businesses, out the gates, you got to start early and get people involved who are specialists. You guys, I could have gone and bought some equipment and tried to set this up at home. That wasn't going to work or do the quality and the output at the pace that I wanted. So, engaging contractors to do the work and the projects that you need help and support with. And then I've got some staff over in the Philippines who work on the social media aspect and some of the creative aspect as well.
Custom buckles sounds like it's the business that changed everything for you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What was that point where you were like, holy shit, my life just completely changed with this business?
It still keeps happening. I think when, I would come home from work in the evening, I would go to the computer and look at the Custom Buckles email inbox, and there'd be an email from BHP saying, "Hi, Ben, would like to get 2,000 of these made. Can you please send over the invoice and deliver it to this address?" And I was like, holy shit, that's when I was like, this is awesome. I've actually built something there and actually built a reputation where people are just comfortable to send me an email going, "Hey, can we grab 1,000 of these? Can we grab 500 of these? Can you make us some of those?" And, because I had my job and my income, this was just extra income coming into the household. And I went and did buy some material things as a reward and everything else like that. But once I kind of got over that, buying that crap, I then started to use that money to build other things. And mainly I was like, hang on, I can use this for investment. I can use this to get out of debt. I can use this for experiences, and actually started to use that for things that were going to see me better off in the long run.
I know you're big on wealth creation and investments.
Yeah.
Where are you currently putting your money to? And what have you been building over the years now?
Yeah. So, first of all, I think you have to. If you actually want to get ahead and see something growing on the side, you have to have an investment strategy in place. Doesn't matter if it's a $10 a week investment strategy, you need something in place. So, I learned that, and by the way, I think how we view money investments as everything is also going to be our lived experiences as well. My dad never owned a stock in his life, never will. He keeps money in his top drawer because he's worried about the apocalypse and COVID again. My mum hasn't invested in any stocks or anything like that, but did invest in property because people do what works for them or what they're comfortable with as well. But I bought my first home when I was 21 years old, paid the deposit on a credit card. So I didn't have the money, but I was like, I need to get into this game because I was hearing people who were like, "Oh, I bought a house 2 years ago and it's gone up 50 grand. I'm like, 50 grand. Imagine what I could do with that. I could start a business. I could do this. I could do that. So yeah, I got into the property game at 21. I actually bought my first stock on the Australian Stock Exchange in 2015. And I also started dabbling in crypto in 2015 as well.
How early?
Yeah, like it's crazy to think of it now, but Ethereum was $150, Bitcoin was 3,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So I started putting money into businesses on the stock exchange that I kind of liked or knew of. I started listening to investors, started paying a bit more attention to what Warren Buffett was talking about, started looking at some of the early crypto people around what they thought were good projects and why. So you start to kind of levitate and move into things that are now starting to that you've got an interest in, and then you start to learn and hear stuff, and then all of a sudden I'm getting the ASX report and they're like, lithium ion is going to be massive in 10 years as the electrical revolution comes through. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Let's go look at the lithium stocks and start to see who's in that space. So it's a long story. I could talk about it all day, but I think to answer your question, what am I investing in? Like, two ways I approach this. One is the safe and secure. So I'd be looking at the index funds because, top 200, top 500 companies, when you can buy into a group of companies, it means there's like 3 companies fail and fall out the bottom, the next 3 companies come into the equation. So it's always going to be a pretty safe investment. And if you look over the last 100, 150 years, it consistently returns 8 to 10%. 8 to 10% doesn't sound like a huge gain, but if you look at 8 to 10% over when you're doing that for 20 years and 30 years or 40 years, it's massive. And that's the compounding interest thing. So for me, I want some of those, and that's just set and forget and dollar cost average. So DCA, just keep putting money into that on a regular cycle and watch the thing grow. I'm 43 now. By the time I get to that 65-year-old age bracket in 22 years, that's 22 more years of that compounding interest at 8%, 10% a year is huge. So I like index funds for that. It's safe and secure. I like up-and-coming companies and future technologies. I think about, what's going to happen in the future and try and pick out companies that I think are going to perform well in that space. So I did get into plenty of lithium ion stocks and that type of thing because I believe in I drive an electric car. Like, I'm a massive fan of electric and making the world a better place.
I own a part of your car, by the way.
Do you?
Yeah, because I own Tesla.
Yeah, right. So, Tesla, you look at people like Elon and what he's doing, they're go-getters. They're going to make things work and they're going to change the world. So aged care, like if you think about our generation and us getting old, like, what are we going to have? Where are we going to stay? Like, there's a lot that's going to be needed and required in that space. So there's going to be a lot of companies who are going to, grow and develop things and projects that are in the healthcare space, in the aged care space, in the aged experience space. So I like those as well. Weed stocks, got into those pretty early. We can see the world's kind of catching on and going, hey, it's not that bad. It can actually help people with a lot of things. So we're seeing the dispensary, the production and the supply businesses starting to grow through the world. So I kind of look at that type of stuff. As it relates to cryptocurrency, it's just my personal opinion, but I think the whole monetary system is broken. And when you actually... Once I started to think that way and you go back and you look at the history of like, where did money come from? How did this stuff start where you can give someone a colorful bit of paper in exchange for food and supplies? You're like, it's quite weird if you think about it. It's just this colorful bit of paper that's got this value to it. So once you start to look at where it come from and what it is, and then you've got all these currencies around the world, and then you've got all this foreign exchange rate, but it's very hard to move money from Australia to Venezuela, to move it over to Afghanistan, to move it back without 7 people clipping the ticket on the way, inflation, debasement, all this stuff. I was like, okay, sooner or later, what we're currently doing as a fiscal system in the world is going to change because people are losing control of their money and people are losing the value of their money. So they're going to look for alternatives, and we can see the trend is starting to head that way. I'm not saying that Dogecoin is the solution. Not saying that at all. But in terms of some form of digital asset of one world currency that can be exchanged for goods and services quickly without someone putting a policy in place to tell you you can't do it, or someone going, do you know what? We're just going to print another $20 trillion this year and put that into the system. I think people are looking for alternatives, and that's why I do like that space a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just one of those things as well. Once you understand it, of see where it's going, you can't go back, and you have to dip your toes in.
Yeah.
What are you doing your biggest allocation in crypto these days?
I am, yeah. And it's probably higher risk on that side than I would want. But, you know, you can change allocation as required, right? So as it currently stands, yes. And then once the results in that space happen that I want, then I'll flip out that allocation, and then I'll go back into maybe index for safe and secure. So you have to know, I guess, what you're doing to a certain degree. And no one's got a crystal ball, so I can't tell you what the price is going to be next week or anything like that. But you have to split your allocation into a risk management that you are comfortable with. Psychology of Money, this is a great book that really helped me reconsider some things as well. About, you know, I think you should always kind of look at it like, what would happen if it went to zero? And if it went to zero and you are wiped out and clean, then that's a bad idea.
Yeah, you always have to be prepared to lose everything. It has to be money that you're not counting with. Every time I put any money towards an investment, I'm not planning on even counting with that money for anything. It's just there.
Yeah.
If it works, works out. And the way I've been approaching it as well is keep it simple.
Yeah.
Don't go, and because I'm not trying to be a trader, a daily trader or anything like that.
Yeah,
I am like, I'm okay with risk. So it's fine. I'm not counting with that. Go into this, go into that. Don't care too much about risk, and most that's the other side of it. I think also you need to assess what's the stage that you're in.
Yeah.
And for me, for example, it's all about S&P my 100 kind of thing. I think that's how Alex Hormozi calls it. That basically everything is reinvested into me, into my knowledge, into my skills, into the business, into my team, into growing the operation and everything we're doing. And then, you know, and just keeping that small section or small allocation towards, let's continue the habit.
Yeah.
I think that's an important thing as well when it comes to investing, is creating the habit that you're consistently doing, whether it's, like you said, $10 a week or whatever it is, but just keeping the habit. What are 3 practical steps that anyone out there right now that is craving to escape the 9-to-5 or the current situation that they're in their job, they can apply?
Yeah. And I kind of go through the step by step on the podcast, but I think if you are looking for a change, it's worthwhile writing down or putting down why you want that, because you got to have the pain of staying the same to be worse than the pain of change. So for me, I was like, what's the pain point? I'm not spending enough time with the kids. I'm working all the time. I'm building someone else's business. My health is not where I want it to be. My mental health is not where I want it to be. They're my pain points. So I started there and went, okay, cool. What do you need to do to change that? Well, you know, in terms of like my wellness, like I can actually start exercise tomorrow morning. I can go right now and do exercise. There's nothing stopping me doing that. So that starts tomorrow. I'm going to change my lifestyle in terms of what I put in my body and how I look after my body. That starts tomorrow. For all the time and other pieces, I would go, you know, this is the pain points. I am definitely going to put this change in place, and it's going to happen by this date. So I didn't go to work one day and go, fuck, I've had a bad day. Like, I resigned, screw you guys, and walked out. Like, the plan was there. I knew that in 3 months on this date, it was going to happen. So as you start to lead through that, you know, I'm starting to follow the people who have gone through the transition like me. I'm starting to read the books about mindset and health and wellness. You know, I'm recreating my identity to get ready, because the action creates the confidence. I'm not waiting for the confidence to create the action. I'm reversing it. So I would write down the pain points, put the timeline and plan in place of how it's going to be. And that date is non-negotiable, right? So if I walked back into work the day before I was about to resign and they said, great news, you're going to be the new big boss of the whole organization and that's going to triple your salary. No, I knew what I wanted to do. Nothing was going to change that. So don't let the obstacles get in the way of the dream. So I'd set the plan in place, get those pain points there, because you will know as you start to take this journey that you're starting to actually alleviate some of those pain points and get the benefit of that. And look, the key thing is just do it. I know it sounds weird to say, and it's like, I don't know how to actually instill that in people, but don't make the goal and objectives too big, too quick. It's all about the 1%. So if you're not happy with your health and wellness, just start with that 1 kilometer walk. It's 10 minutes of your time. It's 1,000 meters. It's no big deal. And once you do that and tick it off the list and you do it consistently for a while, you will look at that and go, I want to do 2K. Like, this feels good. The sun's on my face. I'm thinking. I got fresh air in my lungs. I like it. And then I came home and I made myself a nice healthy meal because I didn't want to eat shit after I've just done the exercise. And then the momentum starts to take place. So I would just write down, if I was giving advice to someone doing this, I'd say, once you have made the decision on where you want to be in terms of that tipping point, then just set a 30-day routine in place to put you in the right mindset and the right daily routine and habits of doing it. And do those as micro doses. Yeah.
I cannot stress enough what you just said there, because you literally just gave a perfect plan for anyone to go and do and build whatever they want. And, putting that urgency with the pain points, understanding that that's not the situation that you want to be in. So you have to go and make something happen. Yeah. And you have to take control of your life, because no one is coming to save you. No one cares. Yeah. No one cares. No one cares as much as you do.
Correct.
That's the reality. Yeah. So it's now or never. You really have to see it that way.
Yeah.
And yes, also understand if it's just not the season right now, because I also see the opposite of very young people trying to get ahead way too quick. Mm-hmm. And some of them, you could go and try to do it on your own, which is how I did it, right? And it took me 8 years.
Yeah.
A lot of pain, a lot of money, a lot of time. Now with the information, I know I can build this thing in 6 to 12 months max.
Yeah.
So potentially, for your specific case, might be, if you're very early in the game, it might be actually attaching yourself to someone else or another is a startup, or like the things that we've been talking about, because then you will be able to fast track and acquire all the information without you being fully at risk. And then you can go and implement everything you learn and fast track your way. I wish I had someone like myself early in the journey, which is the opportunity that I'm giving everyone on my team.
Yeah.
You get me. That I didn't have me. I had to go and create me. That didn't exist. And being prepared to say no. That's so important as well. Once you make a decision, you have to be okay with whatever is going to happen, and you can no go back. That's one of the most important things I've learned in my own journey as well. Once a decision is made, you keep pushing forward. It doesn't matter how tempting other options can be. It doesn't matter this shiny object, how much they try to stop you.
Yeah.
You have to stay true to what you say you're going to do, because that's how everything starts. Everything starts from getting the belief that you can do something, and it comes from you keeping the promises that you make to yourself. The most important promises that you will ever make are the ones you make to you.
Yeah, 100%.
If you say you're going to wake up at 5 a.m., do it.
Get up,
get fired up, and do it.
Yeah.
Because that's how it starts. If you don't do it, then your subconscious goes into, dude, you said that yesterday. You didn't do it. You said that last month. You haven't done it. You keep snoozing. You keep failing.
Yeah.
And the longer you procrastinate on doing the thing, the harder it gets. You miss the gym 3 weeks in a row. You told me how hard it is to get back into it compared to, maybe missing it once or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So don't let it slip.
Yeah.
Stick to what you say you're going to do is huge. And that goes from, quitting your job or going to the next thing. You have to be okay with whatever is going to happen. And once you make the decision, you need a clear deadline, which is the next thing that you said.
Yeah.
There has to be a time and date for that thing to happen.
Yes.
And there's no looking back.
Yeah.
Once you do it. So I 100% agree with everything you're saying. And man, just know that the grass looks greener on the other side. Doesn't matter what you do, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard. It's just different problems depending on what style of business, what style of project. Being your own boss has incredible benefits. I will never look back. I could not look back or go back. However, I now understand not many people can do this thing. It's too fucking hard.
Yeah. See, I think I agree with that completely. But nothing that's not hard is worthwhile. Like, I can't remember who it was. Someone was talking about this. It's like, if everyone had a six-pack, then a six-pack wouldn't be valuable or important because it's like, well, it's not. It's easy. The only reason that it's something that it's sought after by some people is because that's a hard thing to get. That requires discipline, diet, routine, structure, all these things is to get it. But things that are easy do not have the same level of satisfaction and the same level of, personal sacrifice and personal development to do those things. So the hardest things that I've been through have been the most rewarding because it's the process of like growing. It's the process of progression. It's the process of every little inch and mile of actually doing something that makes you feel proud, that makes you feel satisfied, that makes you feel that you've left some sort of impact on yourself and the rest of the world. And you were saying it early on, death is a topic people don't like to talk about, but it's something that really did trigger me on a lot of this because the father was near death and then my daughter was near death, and it's like it can be snapped away in an instant. So if it was, are you happy? And if the answer to that is fucking no, you got to do something about it for yourself. You will reap the benefit and the happiness and the satisfaction of going after the thing that you should go after in all aspects, and everyone around you will also see and reap the benefit of what that does for you as a person.
And that also connects to one of the things that you mentioned at the beginning, which I love so much, which is the climbing of the mountain, being in love and falling in love with the process of it, not the top of the mountain. Because also, once you get to that top, you will realize that, which is what keeps happening to me. I get to the top of a mountain and you're like, it gets bigger than this. Yeah. It gets better than this. Yeah. It gets funnier than this. Everything can get always better. And once you get there, it's never like the way you expected it to be. And then you're like, wait, what? I thought everything was gonna be perfect here. Yeah. It's not. Yeah. And there's other problems. Yeah. And they're bigger problems. Yeah. And they're different problems. Yeah. And now I need new skills to solve them. And now I need new knowledge. And I didn't know what I didn't know. And then you sit down for a second, you're like, holy shit, everything I did was so fun. And everything I had to overcome. And looking back at the early stages in the journey when no one believed, when even myself was questioning everything. And suddenly we're here. And then you set up a next mountain to climb. Yeah. So
it's the journey. It's not the destination.
And it's so cheesy, but it really is.
True.
It really is, man.
Yeah.
What's the best piece of advice that you will give to your 30-year-old self?
Just stop making excuses and get into it. I thought about that a lot because, like I feel like I'm old, but at the same time I don't feel old. But if I could go back and tell my younger self some advice, it would be like, you got this, go for it. What's the worst that can happen? You owe it to yourself. You owe it to everybody else. You need to go for it. Stop fucking around. Yeah.
Love that.
100%.
What's the worst pieces of advice you have ever received?
Be safe, be careful, don't take risks. My mum, God bless her, but even back when I was 17, 18 and I resigned from a job, she would be ringing my boss. No, he doesn't want to go. Go again. She would do
That's a great mom, right?
I was like, what are you doing? She's like, no, stay at the job. Then I'd go and I'd be like, see, I got a better job. She's like, oh, okay, awesome. And then I'd leave that one. No, ringing. But I was like, like fail forward, progress. Stop trying to figure out the unknown because it's just literally impossible. Open the door and walk through it and see what's there. So I kind of, for me also in this job and I had a great job and everything else. I couldn't actually get a view on the future without shutting that door because that's closed. That's gone. That's done now. Now we're forward looking and this is what we're going to go forward. So yeah, I think you need to be able to kind of be aware of that and understand that I don't know what's happening down there, but I've got to shut this in order to put all my focus in that direction and I'll be okay. I'll be okay. Nothing bad is going to happen. You know what I mean? If it all turns to shit, I think I can get another job. If it all doesn't work out, I think I can get another job. So it's actually not that bad. It's not as bad as you think.
And what's the best piece of advice you have ever received?
I think life is short, and family is important. And that's for me, and based on the upbringing that I had and its disruptions and dysfunctions and everything else, I hold that very important in the decisions I make now. So the best advice that I got around that was spend your time accordingly on the right things with the right people. Because that's what matters at the end.
I love that. Ben, where can people find you? How can they get on board with the Fire Up mission?
Yeah.
How can you help them? I know you have a Facebook group, you have a coaching program. Can you tell people where can they find you and get in touch with you?
Sure. So social tags are Ben Vickers Official. So that'll get you into Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. If you do want to join within the Fired Up community, then find the Facebook Fired Up group. It's a private group. You request to join, but that's where our other community members, we're having conversations about businesses, about startups. We're using each other as support mechanisms, sharing our wins, sharing our challenges, which, as Nelson was saying before, you need people around you who are doing what you want to do, and you want to be able to have that in a safe environment where there's no judgment there. We help each other kind of win and do that. So the Facebook group, what are we offering people there at the moment? Our website, firedup.life, has got, free resources and tools where people can actually follow along on the podcast and go, right, how do I come up with my business idea and turn my passion into something that I can provide value with? There's a framework there that you can actually follow the steps, and then you can go to the website once you get to, I think it's episode 4, download the business plan template and start to put the structure in place. And from there, you're ready to go. And the community can help and support you with this, or I do have coaching options available as well if people want some one-on-one support.
Excellent. If you enjoyed this episode, if you want us to continue to bring legends onto the podcast, make sure you subscribe and follow us across all social media platforms. I'm at Creator Nelson and at The Creative Grid, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. Good vibes for everyone. My goal for this podcast is to help 1 million creative entrepreneurs make more money, have more impact, and create their ultimate reality. The best way for you to support this mission is by sharing the podcast with anyone you think will find it valuable. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and follow us on all social media platforms at The Creative Grid and at Creator Nelson. I will see you at the top.